Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Market Bites. As usual, joined by the Dream Team. Please do remember, like, share, subscribe, give us a rating on the podcast as well if you fancy it. Hope you are all doing well. It's been a crazy week in between the last episode. It's all happening, even on the weekend. So we're going to discuss everything with Josh and Neja. First of all, Josh, how are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you, Sam. Liverpool won again last night. I know we're going to talk about football once again, so I'm just going to put that out there. But yeah, other than it being a very, very busy start to the week, I'm well. How about you?
Yeah, all good. All good. We were just saying before, it does feel like you've got to be on your toes in this market, especially with the new president there. It could just be out of the blue, like 2016 to 2020, where comments drop, tweets are dropped, comments are dropped, and the market turns on a sixpence. So, yeah, fun times ahead, I'm sure. Neja, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for all football updates. As we were talking before recording, yeah, it already feels like it's Friday. So much things happened during the weekend, like since our last episode, and it feels like market is turning every second depending on the news that are coming out.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. And listen, some people will love that. They'll be tuned in, they'll have their squawk on, they'll have their Twitter feeds ready to go and be ready to take advantage, because there's going to be some serious moves that just happened because you're in the right place at the right time. Obviously, you can prepare as much as possible for that. But there will be other people that absolutely hate it. And will be in amazing trades, amazing investments, and then they'll look 2 minutes later and things would have just reversed. So it's not for everyone, but hopefully we'll be able to shed some light on a few bits and pieces. Last night we had Netflix earnings, so we'll discuss that shortly. We'll also discuss Apple, which, let's face it, is struggling at the moment in comparison to a lot of markets. For anyone that looked, what day is it today? Wednesday. If anyone looked at the markets last night on the close, Apple was pretty much the only big company that was in the red. Obviously, the first day of trading under the new presidency finished green. But before we get into all of that, Josh, we're going to talk about Trump. We're going to talk about Bitcoin. Earlier this week, we hit a new record high. You know, it did sell off a little bit on the inauguration day, but has gained some ground since. What is going on?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? I think that would be the question we wanted to probably ask over at the weekend when Donald Trump decided to launch a meme coin. It was a little bit like that. What is going on? Where are we? 2025. What is happening? This man is about to walk into the White House in less than 48 hours, and then before we know it, he's launching a meme coin. Look, it shows how mental it was, because the conversations that I had in group chats were, oh my God, he's been hacked, right? So that's how wild I think this was. And then not only did he release one, we then had his wife, Melina, then unveil one at the same time. And then it was almost like a competition. We saw liquidity coming out of Trump's asset that then moved into Melina's meme coin, and that those flows moving between the both. Look, I think it was pretty crazy, but I think what it shows is that it kind of embraced this notion that it sort of further, incentivized Trump to sort of keep embracing crypto-friendly policies. As I say, it was a big shock to everyone, and it had the crypto community going crazy. And, if you are on X and you sort of follow any sort of crypto accounts, you would have seen that it was going a bit mental. But again, look, that was pre-inauguration. And I think all of that excitement and the promise of what then was an executive or a potential executive order coming through on inauguration day, that then sent Bitcoin to a new record high. We hit around about 109,000. But that executive order, many expected to be, could have been the US government buying Bitcoin, something related to crypto. It just didn't come to fruition. We essentially just didn't get a mention of crypto on that sort of first day. And that was a bit of a disappointment to the market, given the build up that we'd had. Again, there were lots of other sort of policies, lots of executive orders that were sort of rolled out right at the start. But the bottom line here is that we are clearly going to see a much more favorable environment for crypto assets. Obviously, Gary Gensler has obviously left his place as the SEC chair. We've got a temporary SEC chair in at the moment, Mark Ueda. He's in as the acting chair position. He's actually previously been with the SEC, and in his time at the SEC, he actually advocated for clearer rules on digital assets, crypto, and actually to try and ease some of the regulatory burdens. So straight away, he's already a great name, and he's actually set up a task force already for digital assets. So it means that, you know, Trump is not wasting any time there. He's moving pretty quickly. So look, bottom line, I think, as I say, these clearer regulations, it's going to encourage greater adoption of, you know, crypto as an asset class. And I think that we also may still get an executive order in the coming days from Trump, something to do around Bitcoin, something to do around crypto assets. You know, look, this is clearly going to be a big week, and I don't think we've seen the end of it. And on the other side of that, we've also seen a whole host of new ETF applications as well on this view of a better regulatory environment. So yeah, look, we hit that record high, didn't quite hold it at that level, given that we didn't get the mention of crypto on Inauguration Day. But look, bottom line is it's going to be another strong year, as I see it, for crypto, given that, you know, pretty much we have a very pro crypto US government stepping into power.
Yeah, I mean, it is just the beginning, because even though he didn't mention crypto yet, I'm sure that there's more coming in about it. And I was, you know, that I'm not into crypto really, but I was following all of this drama with Melania coin, with Trump coin, and how Trump coin slumped after Melania coin was released. So it was really so much happening. And that made me wonder, like, is value investing that? Like, I saw many discussions like that. Is it still worth looking for bargains on the market when there is so many meme coins, so many things happening? And I even wrote a post about it, and I got so many interesting comments actually on eToro, because people are still defending value investing, and obviously I'm also a value investor and I see still a point in it, but I think that they're still looking for long-term opportunities, obviously keeping small portion of portfolio for risky assets like meme coins maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, isn't it? I did a tweet, and I also put it in our global research of you know, the famous meme where someone's chucking the intelligent investor into the bin. And I was like, game's gone, you know. And Yoni replied, and I don't think Yoni quite knew I was joking. And he was like, no, investing isn't finished. And I was like, I'm joking. Look, don't sack me. I'm joking. But it's been an interesting weekend. And, you know, I was up early on Saturday morning, 7 a.m., just a little bit before me and my friend decided, as it's January, everyone's on this fitness hype, that we're going to go for a run. And I looked at X and saw that Trump had released this coin, and obviously there was a little bit of debate at the beginning whether it was real or not. And I thought, well, I mean, it's done the move now. It's not going to go higher. Finish the run. It's up another, you know, XYZ percentage, and it just kept going, didn't it? Remarkable. I asked people on Monday morning. I said, "Is this a good thing for crypto? Is it a bad thing? Or are you not sure?" And on the platform, 715 people have responded. 32% say good thing, 38% say bad thing, and 29% say not sure. And it does kind of feel like that. My gut feel initially was, I don't know if this is a good thing, but at the same time, more eyes are on it now. People don't have to invest in it. People got the option to if they want to. So maybe it's just part and parcel, but it's certainly been an incredible, you know, last few days in the world of crypto. And yes, he didn't mention it in the inauguration. Okay, fine. But there's been plenty of comments since. And as you mentioned, Josh, with those ETF applications, I think someone posted a thing from the Bloomberg terminal of all those applications. There's a lot.
I think the frustration comes from, you made a good point there, Sam, in terms of like, is it good for, you know, crypto in general? And I think the frustration comes from people who have maybe worked so hard for so many years to sort of try and legitimize the asset. And then you have the new president of the United States dropping a meme coin and it's surging however many 1,000%. So I think that is maybe the question mark that it leaves, is like, you know, we've tried for so long to sort of promote, you know, what's good about crypto, the value that it can bring, and that everything else surrounding it. But when you sort of maybe bring something like that out, it maybe takes that away. And I think it sort of feeds into this narrative that, of there being little to no value into some of those assets. So I think that's maybe the annoyance part of it. And also just a funny point as well, I should have actually texted you this, but your photo that you actually used was obviously the famous sort of meme photo. But Aoife, who's our social media manager here in Australia, for those that don't know it, texted me because she saw the video or the photo all over her Twitter feed. Yeah, she was like, "Oh my God, Sam's photo's gone viral. Everyone's using it. We should tell him what he's so famous." And I was like, "No, that's not his.
Sam stole it. Yes, yeah,
yeah." But in terms of talking about going viral as well, at the same time, we did actually have Netflix. Their earnings came through overnight, and they've had some pretty viral hits over the last couple of years. Squid Game being one of them, which I've actually just finished up in recent days. Took me a while. It came out on Boxing Day, I know. Took me a while to finish it up. Pretty good. Waiting for that sort of new release of episodes. There's that. Have Netflix, though, managed to sort of maintain their leadership? Because we're seeing that the space is getting increasingly crowded in streaming. So are they still dominating? Did we get that from their latest earnings?
I mean, they proved that they're still on top of the game with those earnings, because the stock was up like 12% after earnings were released. And I mean, I was thinking about like what's their secret, and I think that they just know how to adapt, and they know what people want to watch, and they're just proving their point. Like we saw that with these earnings, because for example, in this fourth quarter, they added 19 million new subscribers, which was way ahead of expectations, because expectations were set at 9 million, and it was actually their biggest quarterly growth ever, and their total number of subscribers now surpassed 300 million. So those are really huge numbers, and I think that is just proving that their strategy is working. And you mentioned some of their successful content, because successful content is still the key in the game, because they just released Squid Games season 2. I also just finished watching it, and it was worth waiting for it. And they also started investing in live events. For example, they had this Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight, and this drew massive audience, because I think that this fight alone brought more than 100 million viewers. Wow. So I think that with that, they really proved that they are not attracting just us binge watchers, but also live event fans. And it was not just subscribers numbers that surprised the market, because also revenue surpassed expectations, and they increased their 2025 revenue outlook. And on top of that, they also said that they will be buying back their own shares. I think that they will buy like $15 billion. So this is showing how confident they are in their future. And I know that we were talking about their advertising strategy, and some were skeptical about it, but with those earnings, we saw that this strategy is actually starting to pay off, because advertising revenue doubled last year, and they are expecting it to double again in 2025. So in the end of the day, they really showed us that they're still leader in the game, that they're not just surviving this crowded streaming market, but I would say that they're actually thriving right now. And with more viral series coming in 2025, like Squid Game season 3 and Stranger Things and Black Mirror, I think that we could see this momentum going.
Yeah, look, they've certainly set the benchmark, haven't they? It's I think if we're going to talk about a blowout quarter, that was absolutely it. I mean, record subs in the quarter for Q4, over 300 million subs now globally. Just a massive, massive result all in all. And that comes off as well what was actually pretty high expectations coming in, right? I had a pretty decent year last year. Shares were up over 80%. So a pretty solid year. So pretty big expectations, because they had that Jake Paul Tyson fight, because they had Squid Game released in the quarter. So yeah, huge expectations coming in. And it does feel that they have really got that leg up, right? They spend a lot of money for a long time, negative free cash flow, spending a lot of money, but, really sort of narrowed in. The content that they've invested in has paid off. Those original series especially things like Squid Game, right? They've managed to sort of really crack that international market. It's costing them a lot less than what it would for, say, a Hollywood production. If we think about Disney and what they spend on sort of some of those Marvel films, they're really getting the success in those sort of global markets, which I think is really some of the key to their success. They've obviously got that early mover advantage as well, and it always does just make me laugh that Blockbuster did have the opportunity to sort of buy at what for, was it 100 million, and now the business is worth hundreds of billions, and there's only one Blockbuster store left. So yeah, that always makes me laugh a little bit. I'm sure whoever made that decision is really, really kicking themselves. So
Yeah, what a fumble that is. And people take the mick out of Bill Ackman as well, don't they, for selling when he did. And I mean, since then, Netflix has literally just gone up. But I was looking at the chart. I mean, it's up. If we go back 10 years, 2015, and we'll go literally to the day where we're trading around $46 to the all-time high, which is obviously near where we're trading now. It's up 1,900%. Incredible, right? If you invest in a company and in 10 years you get those returns, you're very happy with it. But I think that the point that I want to make is, and I'm just going to randomly quickly look at the chart here and go through the drawdowns that it's had. People don't necessarily realize that. And I think newer investors, it drops 20%. Okay, well, the stock is done now. I'm out of it. Let's just have a quick look and go through some of those. In 2015, we dropped 36%. We'll fast forward to what year is that? 2018, dropped down 20%. Also in 2018, August, you drop in here. What's that? 44%. Let's just fast forward to 2020. There was way more than this, by the way, but we dropped down further. 2021, 2022, 77, 80%. These are tough to take. You can hold for 10 years and you look like a genius, but there are going to be periods where you're losing over half of your value that you've invested at a certain point, and that's not easy to take psychologically. So how to get these big winners? You've got to have patience. You've got to be able to sit through those negative times. And, when a stock drops 77, 80%, you probably think its time is over. Yes, that would have been a great time to buy, and it's up, 100% since. But it's not always plain sailing. And sometimes you do need a little bit of patience all the time. And I thought this was quite interesting. Great company, smashing it at the moment. But share price-wise, it hasn't always been rosy.
Yeah, exactly. We saw that. I think that also, like last year, we were talking about Netflix, and it was not all that like just roses. Everything was not just great. And streaming business is crowded, and they have to constantly adapt. And with all these share price movements, we saw how market lost expectations of the company. They lost confidence in it, but so far, they always proved us wrong, that they were able to adapt and able to change things in their favor. And we will see how that goes in the future. Right now, they're positioned well. And with them entering into live sports, that maybe could be like one of the next things they go into and succeed in it. And if we continue with one other company that also has their streaming, I know one of their series that is very good, but maybe not that famous as Netflix series. I think it's called Severance. I have to start to watch it. But Apple hasn't been in the news for positive news recently, because we saw their share price struggling a bit. I think that it's already down about 10% year to date. And what's going on? What's happening? What's wrong with the company right now?
Well, yeah, I mean, firstly, Severance I've heard is very good. Another show which I have watched on Apple TV is Slow Horses, which everyone needs to watch. It's fantastic, and if you haven't watched it, you've got a few series to catch up on, so you're sorted, and you can thank me later. Really, really good. But yeah, share price wise, it is struggling. From the all-time high which we had, not too long ago, by the way, back in December, it's down about 15%. It's trading near its 200-day moving average, which historically has been pretty good support. So, you might be sitting here saying, okay, look, people talking negatively about Apple. okay, maybe this is the opportunity that I would like to get involved again. So that 200-day moving average coming in around 215. Yesterday's close was at 222. So it is very close. It has to be said. So I would keep an eye on that. But as I mentioned at the beginning, if you were to look at yesterday's trade, from the first full day of the new presidency, Amazon up 2%, Google up, Meta up, Nvidia up, Oracle, up, a lot of these big companies up. Apple was down 3.19%. That it really starts to stick out, and then you put it on a 6-month performance and you go, okay, Nvidia's up 20%, Amazon's up 25%, Meta up 29%, Google up 11%, Tesla up 77%, Apple down 0.74%. So not that great. By the way, Microsoft's also down minus 1.97. But I thought, well, why is it struggling? Because, it's a massive company, and it might well be that it hits a 200-day moving average, has a good earnings report, and it's then, in a couple of months trading at its all-time high, and that is very possible. But I wanted to know why it is struggling. So I decided to send my research team, aka I asked eToro, why people thought it was struggling. And the main thing that people came up with is that this isn't anything new that they've got coming out at the moment that's of high quality. A lot of people saying the weak sales in China, which is absolutely true. I actually did do my own research as well, and they're down quite significantly, and that's a big problem for them. They make a lot of money, or used to make a lot of money there. So if that comes down, the business is going to struggle a little bit. So they'd want to see things improve there as well. But with the product situation, there was just a lack of innovation, and it's going to hurt sales. However, they've got such a big audience. Sometimes all it does take is just this one new thing that they bring out, and then we look back at this and say, God, that was a good opportunity, wasn't it? It's almost like, I'm not saying it's going to drop 77%, but like when Netflix is under significant pressure, you're thinking, okay, right, this is still a company that has hundreds of million users. It just needs a little bit of positive news and things can turn around. So I still think Apple is going to be fine. But there is certainly theory to why it struggled in recent times. The weak sales, the high valuation concerns as well, the AI side of things not necessarily groundbreaking and amazing as well. So things need to improve. Let's have a look what else other people said on in eToro. Sales are down in China. They make up a 17% of the market. The product isn't actually that good. Nothing new. Battery's terrible. I think that's just more opinion on the phone, really. I actually don't think the battery's too bad. Lack of innovation, plus losing ground in China. A lot of people mentioning China, aren't they, as well? The Vision Pro, that is too expensive. Restrictions as well. Running behind the AI technology. Lack of innovation. So yeah, people were on the same page, and that's good because if everyone's a little bit bearish on the stock and it's coming under pressure, for those that are looking for things to turn around, you don't have to maybe look too far for that to happen. A little bit less bad news near the 200-day moving average, trading at September levels, everything down while this is down while everything's up. It's got to play catch up at some point.
Yeah, and all those reasons you mentioned there are, I want to buy this stock just so badly, right? Because every time I walk past an Apple store or I go into an Apple store, I just think to myself that I do not own enough Apple shares because it is always busy. And I think that is always just a great sentiment for a product or a business or whatever it may be. And look, yes, I think China is probably one of the big reasons that we're seeing some of that weakness. They were maybe a little bit late to the AI party as well. It didn't come through on that iPhone 16 model, is that sort of new update where it's sort of coming through to sort of everyone else. And to be honest, I actually have it. And, when we talk about innovation and sort of being groundbreaking, I don't think I've used anything on my phone of AI. So I think, maybe that's just a lack of them sort of promoting it, maybe a lack of knowledge or whatever that may be. But again, we go back to Netflix. We sort of spoke about that earlier. Obviously, then, they then have their sort of subscription model, which obviously has Apple Music, it has Apple TV, it has sort of storage, cloud storage and things like that. I think their services part of the business does get overlooked. We tend to sort of focus on sort of the hardware part of the business quite a lot. And I think just really in terms of that ecosystem, we're not going to buy iPhones in my view. It's so difficult to change. There's absolutely no chance I would ever go to a Samsung in my life. If I could own a MacBook, I would. Everyone probably has an iPad. I have AirPods. Right, we could go on. But the point is that you have such a big ecosystem. You have billions and billions of users in there, and then you have this sort of services business, which is basically very, very high margins, basically no cost really to the business, and they can target billions of users, and it's only growing, and it's part of the business that is growing at double digits. And I think the market really doesn't, value that at its, as it should be at the moment. And I think that's one of the reasons that, Neza might be able to talk a little bit more on it, that there may be some value in this stock where it is, but I think it does need to deliver. And if there is still going to be sort of weakness in China, if they do have maybe, still not delivering on sort of their AI strategy, it does still, even though I say there's a bit of value, it isn't the cheapest sort of stock, out of the Mag 7. You've got Alphabet that's sort of trading around about sort of 22, 23 times earnings, and it's had a much better year. So I think there are question marks there still. But again, as I say, I think it only needs to drop a little bit further for me to really want to buy this stock.
Yeah, I mean, there are positive and negative points to Apple right now, because I really like that you also talked about positives there, because services are a major part of their business and margins there are really high, and it is worth also discussing that. But I think that overall market is still focused on iPhone sales, and this is like their main product. And obviously China is their second biggest market, and it's very important for them. And I think that the issue here right now is with iPhone 16, where sell point was like AI integration, and I think that it's correct that people in China can't really use AI features on their new iPhones. So this also might be a reason why sales are not performing that well, besides like weak China market overall. But I guess that we will have to wait until next week when earnings will be released. And I hope that market won't be only focused on iPhones, but also on other aspects of their business, because their business is not just phones, as you said, it's wearables, their ecosystem. And once you have an iPhone connected with your computer, you probably won't go for something else, because it is so easy to use this ecosystem all the time for your work and for your life overall.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting you mention AI. My friend got the new iPhone probably just before Christmas, and obviously have all these AI features. And one thing that it does is like summarize messages. Say you get a few WhatsApps, you'll get an AI summary. So my mate has recently got this new girlfriend. It's all going well. They're very much in love, aren't you, Bill? And anyway, he got a summary. It goes from his girlfriend, right? It goes, and the summary is, ended a relationship, going to meet someone else. Right, that's the summary it gave. And by the way, the message was I'm not going to read their message out, but it was literally like, I'm just going to meet a friend. I've just met a friend. I'm done. I'm now on my way to you. That was the message. So you get that summary, your head is spinning. So he very, very quickly turned that off. But it just goes to show that it needs a little bit more work. But look, I'm with you both, by the way. This is an unbelievable company. I think that the drawdown makes sense, but there's going to be a point where it also makes sense to be a great opportunity to buy. And, if you were to say to yourself, okay, it drops another 10%, you're going to bite people's hands off for that. So, yeah. Listen, another interesting week in markets. And I'm sure over the next few days it's going to be as exciting. Just on Apple, their earnings are next Thursday on the 30th of January. So that's maybe something we can talk about, do a little preview as well. But Josh and Neza, as always, thank you very much for joining.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.